Hey guys, so today I'm just going to do a quick little tutorial on some airbrush gun maintenance. I've gotten a lot of questions about how to take care of them, how to clean them, just a lot of general airbrush related questions. So I think I'm going to start doing a couple series of videos on those. This right here, this is my Temptu, you can see it, my Temptu SP-35. I have a couple of these. This is just one of my favorite guns for general all-purpose airbrushing, but as you can probably see, this one's been used. I used it in the gig yesterday, and so it's still a little dirty. I need to clean it out again. I'm going to show you how to dismantle the airbrush, how to take it all apart, how to clean and replace the needle if you need to, and how you can also tell if that needle needs to be replaced. And we'll go through just some general kind of tips and tricks like that. So recently, the last application I did with this airbrush, this was all with the Temptu SB foundations, which means that is a silicone-based foundation. I often use the same airbrush for doing like tattoo covers or body painting where I might be using an alcohol-based paint. And so if I'm using an alcohol-based paint, I'm going to need to use, it's the 99% isopropyl alcohol. But since I was using a silicone-based foundation, I'm going to be using, this is the Temptu, you can see it, SB Airbrush Cleaner. SB Airbrush Cleaner. And so this is going to be a great solvent option for any kind of silicone-based products that you'll be using. And most beauty applications I tend to always be with silicone products. I generally tend to reserve the alcohol-based or the super long wear products for tattoo cover or body painting, somewhere where it's really going to be intense and really going to need to go through a lot of wear, because the silicone-based paints do still wear very, very well as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up that gun to some air. We're going to make sure that inside is as cleaned out as possible. I have this connected to my S1 compressor, my Temptu S1 compressor, which is by far my favorite compressor that I've ever owned. It's sturdy. It gives you all the control you need without being super bulky, but it's sturdier. I feel like some of the smaller compressors, especially like the Temptu Air, and some of the other smaller Temptu compressors can be very, very kind of flimsy, and I'm paranoid that they're going to break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by making sure the gun is as cleared out as I can get it. So first I'm going to go in with my solvent, and I'm just going to fill up that. I'm going to turn on the air. First I'm going to back bubble. And then I'm just going to work on spraying just new cloth. So I am going to wipe out the bowl a little bit, try and get as much of the product out of the inside sides of the bowl as I can. But I'm going to wait to do any kind of deep cleaning until I actually completely disassemble. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to disassemble our gun. So we have the gun here. You've got the tail piece right here, which is actually going to be the first bit that we're going to unscrew. This just screws right off. You want to be very careful, because underneath this is the mechanism that holds the needle in place. And you want to be very careful not to hit the needle. If you bend that, you will have to replace it, because it needs to be completely straight, perfectly straight, and perfectly even in order for the airbrush gun to work. So if you hit that too hard and it bends, it's not going to go back and forth in the right way. So this bolt right here, this is what's going to hook onto the needle and hold the needle in place and allow you to adjust its position and lock it into place. So we're going to loosen that up. And you want to be very, very careful. You don't want to force anything, but you're just going to grab that needle and pull it all the way out. You can see that needle is a little bit dirty at the moment, so we're going to get that cleaned right up. I am working on a towel just to kind of protect any of the bits and pieces, especially the needle, keep it from getting dinged or scratched or bent. So the nozzle assembly on an SP-35 comes in, actually it's in two parts. You have the outer cover part, which is interchangeable. That's actually going to protect the very, very tip of the needle that does poke out. And then you have the actual nozzle itself. And so this part is the actual nozzle cover. This you're going to take out like so, and what you're going to find underneath is the actual nozzle of the airbrush gun. Again, you want to be very, very careful with that. The hole in the middle is very, very fine, and if you bend that or you dent it, the airbrush isn't going to work anymore, and you're actually going to have to get a whole new nozzle. So I'm going to take the wrench cute little wrench dealio that is supplied with the airbrush gun. We're just going to latch that right and the tip of the airbrush. And again, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Give that a couple turns to loosen it up. And I'm just going to very gently remove that. And so you can see this is the entire nozzle assembly of the nozzle itself. This is the nozzle cover, and then this is the outer cover that protects the very tip of the needle that pokes out of the nozzle. So you have those two bits, and then you have an airbrush that looks something like so. This is more or less the furthest I would ever break it down to. However, you can remove the entire button and slot mechanism. That's going to be where this comes into play right here. If you do really need to clear this out, what you're going to do is you're going to take this off, unscrew that all the way, and then that is going to relieve any of the tension on the button. And then you have that like so, and the button comes out. And so that's actually how far it completely breaks down. However, you'll find most of the time you won't ever have to take this actual mechanism out. This and the tailpiece are going to be the most important bits to know how to take apart and know how to clean properly. So I'm just going to set this aside for right now because we're really going to focus on cleaning these bits here. So again, this is the needle that came out, and as you can see, it does have quite a bit of product. So I'm going to go back in with that same cloth I was using before. That's actually now saturated with the SB Airbrush cleaning fluid, and very, very gently, if anything, just gently run it across. You don't want to actually apply any pressure to the needle, again, because you don't want to risk bending it. You also want to be very careful because the tip of this needle is actually very, very, very sharp. I've stabbed myself with it on more than a few occasions, and then you have to stop and sterilize the entire machine. And so there's that, a nice, happy, clean needle. And then you can go over all of this again with some 99% alcohol. I prefer to just kind of spray everything down after everything is done, but that is another kind of sterilization option for you as well. And next, I just like to soak the nozzle display. And so this is actually just the top of a little matte canister. But I like to use this. I'm just going to fill it a little bit with some of that airbrush cleanser. And then we're literally just going to pick up that nozzle and to wrap it on. I like this because it's small, it's clear, it's really easy to see. And then I like to just swish it around. And that just helps kind of loosen up any product that might be left on the nozzle. And then the body, we're just going to give a quick wipe down. Excess anything out of there. I'm just going to go in with a couple cotton swabs. I'm actually just going to pick up some of the airbrush fluid from the little tray that has the nozzle in it. And that'll allow us to get right down into the base. This is generally where you'll find the most product in the airbrush gun. It does build up. And so we're going to get right down to the bottom. And you can see all that product that is coming out. And the one thing I will say is you want to make sure you never ever do this while the needle is actually in the chamber, because the needle does segment, does cross directly through the bottom of that chamber. And so if you put too much pressure on it, it will bend and you'll end up having to replace your needle. I'm going to show you guys how to reassemble the airbrush gun. So the button assembly has all been reassembled. The first step is we're actually going to reattach the nozzle. I just pulled that out of the cleaning fluid. And this does get a little tricky because it is a very, very tiny piece, but we're just going to start screwing that right back onto the tip. It just takes a couple turns to get started, and then we'll go back in with that little wrench. And very gently screw it on. And you want to just get just until it stops. We're going to make sure this nut here is loosened, You don't want it falling off, but you want it nice and loose. And then we're going to go in with the needle. And so we go point first. Try to not scrape it along the sides, if at all possible. And then you just really want to gently push it. You can see I'm just using one finger. I'm just gently pushing it down the airbrush gun. And you'll see when it starts to poke out the tip. I'm going to see. So that's the needle. And this motion is what controls. So you just want to push it all the way until it stops. And after it's reached that position, you're just going to go ahead and tighten this screw to lock that needle in place, like so. Now I'm going to reassemble the tip mechanism. And so I'm going to start with the nozzle cover. Again, we're going to be very careful not to put any pressure on the tip of the nozzle or the needle itself. Then, since you can see the end of the needle does poke out just a little bit, that's where the end cap comes in, is really, really important. So we're going to very carefully make sure not to hit the needle, and then just gently screw that in over. Then we're going to put the back cover back on. Slide that over the whole shebang. I like to stop that so it looks vertical. And there you more or less have it. The airbrush gun is reassembled, she's cleaned out on the inside, good to go. What I like to do is I will actually just fill this up one more time with the airbrush fluid, spray all that out. And you can already see how open that spray is. Back bubble a little bit. Spraying. Alrighty, and there you guys have it. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. While you're at it, go ahead and hit the like and the subscribe button. The links to all of my social media accounts are down there as well, so you can follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Instagram, and you can follow me on Twitter. And until next time, I'll see all you guys later. Bye-bye.